Thank you, Neve. Oh, Claire, forgot to turn my microphone on. Before we start, I would just like to outline some housekeeping rules. There are no planned fire alarms, so if an alarm does sound, please leave via the nearest exit. Please, can I also ask for mobile phones to be switched to silent or ideally switched off? Please note this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on YouTube. The web address for this is displayed on the agenda for the meeting and can be found on the Council's website. To facilitate this, can I request that when you are speaking, you use the microphone in front of you, which can be activated by pressing the button on the right-hand side. Once you are finished speaking, please ensure that the microphone is switched off. My name is Councillor Matthew Lynch. I am the Chair of the Licensing and Public Safety Committee. We'll do introductions first, starting on my right-hand side, and if we work round, so everybody knows who everybody is.
I'm Councillor Gordon France. I'm the for Chorley North East.
Councillor John Walker.
Whittle.
Yes, good evening. My name's Nathan Halson. I'm the licensing team leader for Chorley Council.
Good evening, PC Connolly from the police licensing team.
We've got members of our Democratic Services support team at the back and IT support in Neve. So should we have any issues with IT, we may pause the hearing to get it sorted. But I have ultimate faith in Neve, so hopefully we won't get to that stage.
I'm Jeff Bamber. I'm a customer from the shop.
My name's Andrea Forrest from Forrest Solicitors, legal representative.
Hi, my name is Barrett Vicaria and I'm the premises license holder for Tony's Off License.
Alex Jackson, legal officer.
Thank you very much. Now open the meeting. Apologies. Any apologies, Claire? No apologies received. Has Councillor Moss sent her apologies? Because obviously we've had a stand-in, haven't we?
Obviously she was due to be on the committee, so we put into apologies.
Please, yeah. Thank you. Item number 1, declarations of interest. If a member has a pecuniary interest, they must withdraw from the meeting. Normally, you should leave the room before the business starts to be discussed. You do, however, have the same right to speak as a member of the public and may remain in the room to enable you to exercise that right and then leave the room immediately. In either case, you must not seek to improperly influence a decision on the matter. Do we have any declarations of interest, members? No? I'll now outline the procedure of the hearing. The committee will first decide whether to allow persons specified on the Regulation 8 notice permission to speak. Then our licensing officer will outline the application and any relevant representations. Questions to the licensing officer will be permitted from committee members, the applicant for review, other persons, and the licence holder or representative. At this point, the committee will hear representations from the applicant for review, PC Connolly. Questions to PC Connolly will be permitted from committee members, other persons, the licence holder and representative. The committee will then receive representations from other persons. Questions to other persons will be permitted from committee members, the applicant for review and the premises licence holder or legal representative. I will then invite the applicant, PC Connolly, other persons and the premises holder and legal representative representative to sum up in turn, if they so wish. The public and any other persons or officers who are not directly supporting the committee will be excluded from the meeting at this point as we enter deliberations, and the YouTube stream will end. Following deliberations, we will request that the licence holder re-enter the meeting so that I can deliver our decision. The licence holder, applicant for review and other persons will be issued with a detailed notice of decision within 5 working days after this hearing. There is a copy of the procedure as well. Is everybody happy so far? So far, so good. Item 3, review of the premises licence, Tony's off licence. The committee need to consider whether to allow persons specified on the Regulation 8 notice permission to speak. Nathan, have we had any requests?
I think I was pressing the wrong button then. Just one request from Mr. Vicaria for his wife, Bhavna, to speak. That's the only one, Chair. I can't see any reason to refuse that request.
Therefore, can I have a proposer for... Yep, second. All in favour? There we go. So, just bear with me, plenty of papers. We go to the determination of application for review, and we go now to the licensing officer who will outline the case.
Thanks, Chair. I'll briefly walk the committee through the report. I'm going to start on agenda page 5 for those who want to follow it along. The reason this report has been brought to the committee is to advise members of an application for the review of the premises licence, which has been served by Lancashire Constabulary in respect of the premises detailed above. That's, as you said, Chair, the Tony's off licence. It's to request that members determine the application in accordance with the Licensing Act 2003. I'll move straight to paragraph 8 of the report, that's agenda page 6. The premises has been licensed under the Licensing Act since the old Justice's licence was converted into a premises licence. When the Licensing Act came into force, the licence has been transferred, well, a number of times since then. It was transferred into the current licence holder's name on the 15th of February 2018, and at the same time he became the designated premises supervisor. Members will find a copy of the licence appended at Appendix 1. The premises itself sits just outside of the town centre on a busy arterial road. That's the A6 Bolton Road. It sits within a row of terraced houses with a zebra crossing over the road close by. This is an area which is densely packed with residential properties on all sides, and you'll find a plan view of the premises or of the area at Appendix 2. On the 6th of October 2022, an application for the review of a premises licence was received from PC Connolly for and on behalf of the Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary. A copy of that application is appended at Appendix 3 of the report, and it concerns the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and the protection of children from harm being undermined at the premises. The grounds for the review are as follows. The licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and the protection of children from harm are being undermined at the premises in that canisters of nitrous oxide have been sold from the premises and that a large quantity of non-compliant e-cigarette products have been found. The application was advertised in accordance with the regulations in that a notice was displayed at the premises, at the council offices, and a copy of the application was published on the council's website for the whole 28-day consultation period. During this time, a number of representations were received, the first being on the 18th of October, a representation from Lucy Collier, who advises that she's a member of staff at the premises. This representation relates to the prevention of crime and disorder objective and is appended at Appendix 4. Then on the 26th of October, a representation was received from Scott Schiltz, a member of the public, again relating to the prevention of crime and disorder objective, and it's appended at Appendix 5. Then on the 31st of October, another representation received, again from a member of the public, Mr. Jeff Bamber, again relating to the prevention of crime and disorder objective, and that's appended in Appendix 6. Moving on then, at paragraph 18 and 19, you'll see there's the comments of the monitoring officer in respect to this report, and at 20 is your options when determining the application. The decision should be based on the individual merits of the application and the representations in accordance with Regulation 26. A decision must be made within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing is held. In accordance with Section 52, the authority must, having regard to the application and any representations made, take such steps mentioned below, if any, as it considers appropriate for the licensing objectives. Those steps available to the committee today is to modify the conditions of the licence, and that includes altering, omitting or adding any condition. It includes excluding a licensable activity from the scope of the licence. You could remove the designated premises supervisor. You could suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months, or you could revoke the licence. When members decide to take such steps at A or B of the paragraph above, they may provide that they only have effect for such period not exceeding 3 months as they may specify. That's a report, Chair. There are a couple of other bits of information which have been provided. You'll find those in the supplementary parts of the agenda. Supplementary 1, there's a statement for PC Connolly. There's also copies of the police logs relating to the incidents on the evening in question and following. And there is some body-worn camera footage of the officers who attended on the evening. I'm sure PC Connolly will walk you through those. Following that then, there's another supplementary which has been published today, that relates to some training records which have been provided by the premises licence holder, some proofs of, or some letters which provide proof that test purchases have been passed at the premises in the past. There's some refusals record dating back a number of years. There's some documents which show what measures in CCTV have been provided. And then crucially, right at the end of that supplementary is that there have been some conditions which have been agreed between the police and the licence holder as a way of disposing of the appeal. I think that's everything, Chair, unless there's any questions. I'll pass back to you.
Councillor France.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question, Nathan. The nitrous oxide, is it unusual for a shop like Tony's to have that sort of thing on the premises? Is that what I'm trying to get at? Is that a normal, would you say that's a normal thing for a shop like that to have?
I suppose it's a difficult question to ask. I mean, realistically, there is a legitimate use for the use of nitrous oxide. The offence only engaged where it's provided knowingly or recklessly for human consumption. So, it's used normally in catering. It's used to make whipped cream, that type of thing. It's used in, I think, the production of ice cream. Whether it's normal or unusual, I don't think I can really say. I wouldn't know well enough to confirm either way.
No, thank you. Just a question I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Nathan, obviously, we've got some information given to us today to support the test purchases over the past. Can you tell me, has there been any other issues raised with this premises other than the failed test purchase on the 28th of the 4th, the incident on the 5th of the 9th, and then obviously the trading standards visit on the 15th and the 9th? Discounting those 3 incidents, has there been any other concerns raised over this premises?
Yeah, I think you've summarised the issues that have been observed with the premises. I'm not aware of any others in recent history, at least.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions of Nathan? I may reserve the right, Nathan, as is my gift to come back and ask a few questions. Any questions from the applicant? Any questions? Sorry. I do dislike the term other person, but sadly this is what you are in this case. We'll have a discussion about that. Therefore, can I ask PC Connolly to, as the applicant for the review, to make his representations, please?
Good evening, Chair. I've got quite a lengthy statement here in front of me that I've provided as support in this application today. As you've noted on, there are only a couple incidents that I've provided in that statement, and that is all we have for the premises in question. So I'm just going to detail through those very briefly. So on the Wednesday, the 28th of April 2021, at approximately 18:55 hours, the premises was subject to an alcohol test purchase operation by PC 2388 Stewart, the former licensing officer. PC Stewart arranged for a 15-year-old test purchaser to enter the premises where she bought a bottle of rosé. The cashier has originally refused the sale before asking the face mask of the test purchaser to be removed. At that point, she's said something along the lines of, "Okay, I'll let you off this time," and the sale went ahead. That cashier is the cashier that is also linked to the incident that I'll talk about in a little bit. When PC Stewart's spoken to the cashier, she's alleged that she's only worked at the premises for 2 weeks. She hadn't been given any training and had no knowledge of any refusal records, training records, CCTV or authority to sell. PC Stewart spoke to the license holder on the telephone and claimed the cashier was lying and that the training records were at home, and that the CCTV was working despite the screen being blank in the store. PC Stewart's noted that the premises had out-of-date refusal records and unable to find any written authority to sell alcohol. The next incident that we actually have with Tony's is this year, and it is the Monday the 5th of September, so there is a good year between incidents. That's where we've received a 999 call from a member of the public. This member of the public openly admits that she's gone down to the premises, she's assaulted the staff member because the staff member has sold what she refers to as balloons to her 16-year-old child. For reference, balloons is often a slang term which is attributed to nitrous oxide. Generally speaking, what a lot of people that take nitrous oxide, they use party balloons to inhale it. They decant it from the canister, no matter what size it is, into a balloon, and then they inhale the nitrous oxide from the balloon. PC Newton and PC Cooks have then attended that incident. They've provided some body cam footage for us tonight, and they've spoken to both parties. The cashier in question does provide an account. Rather than going through that account, I think it would be easier to show you the body cam footage. I have got a bit of a... what's the word I'm trying to think of? I've forgot it altogether, but I've surmised that body cam footage anyway, and I can provide that. I am conscious the audio could be a bit quiet and difficult to hear. Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. PC Cuts seized 7 large canisters of nitrous oxide at that evening from the premises. They were in the back stock room, and you'll see on the body cam footage, but they appear to have been hidden or concealed behind other boxes of stock and wouldn't have been easily found had you not been looking for them. On Sunday the 9th of September, we received a counter complaint from the cashier regarding the assault that she was subjected to. She's provided an account that evening, basically detailing the assault and explaining exactly what's happened. The CCTV had been provided of the assault, but not of the transaction of the nitrous oxide approximately an hour previously. And then on Thursday, the 15th of September, I've attended the premises in company with Lancashire Trading Standards and Usman Gazra, one of the licensing officers for Chorley Borough Council. We carried out an inspection. It was a pre-arranged inspection with the licence holder. I've noted a couple of things. There was a slushed ice machine. It wasn't working at the time, but there was a handwritten notice advertising adult slushies, in essence, alcoholic slushies. There was some questionable practices about how they are measuring out the shots of alcohol. We discussed the nitrous oxide sales, and the licence holder provided me with a typed policy for the store and sale of it. There's a few bullet points that were on there around the sale and risk of nitrous oxide. However, he wasn't able to provide us with any information about when the staff were trained, who trained them, what they were actually specifically trained on in terms of that, and said that he'd only recently been selling it to takeaways. In terms of actual age-related sale materials, there was very little signage within the premises advertising the Challenge 25 policy, or in essence, if you look underage, you will be asked for identification. And then when I reviewed the CCTV, discovered that it had only been recording for 5 days, and as such, the original incident hadn't been captured and wasn't able to be reviewed. It is worth noting, Chair, they don't have a licence condition around CCTV and how long they had to retain it. Their licence is quite an old one. It's grandfathered from the previous Licensing Act, and it is just mandatory conditions. That is all that's on it. During that same visit at Lancashire Trading Standards, they seized, I believe it was about 300 of non-compliant e-cigarette devices. I have spoken to Trading Standards. They've advised they are non-compliant as opposed to a safety issue. It is because of the size and the capacity of the actual devices. And then the last one for myself before we move on to the media is just to explain that psychoactive substance, which nitrous oxide is, it is prohibited for the sale for human consumption under the Psychoactive Substance Act 2016. It's included in there because of the risk to public safety. Data from the Office of National Statistics, it says that between 2001 and 2020, nationally, there have been 716 deaths related to volatile substances in England and Wales. Nitrous oxide is classed as a volatile substance, and specifically, it was mentioned on 56 death certificates, making it the third most common volatile substance that is mentioned on a death certificate. On the same data, the northwest of England has the worst death record for volatile substances. And then, other than that, I'm happy to move on to the media if you are.
Yes, please.
If we could play LC01, that's the 999 recording. Joe, I will just advise there is going to be some swearing in this recording.
I think we're all adults.
No problem.
No! Don't give me that fucking bullshit!
Hello, it's the police. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, where are you?
Right, I'm at the Green Shop on Bolton Road in Chorley. Tony's, it's called. They're selling drugs, and they've given my 16-year-old son balloons. So I'm actually in the shop now. Please, can you get here?
Tell me, you said in Chorley, yeah?
Yeah, in Chorley on Bolton Road.
Okay. Tony's.
Yeah. Tony's, yeah. Some girl, what's her name? Actually, passed my son some balloons, and so I've come in the shop. I've given her a good idea. Well, I've hit her. And I said, why have you done it? She said, because my boss told me to. Yeah, she's here. She works at the shop. Yeah. But that won't be the only drugs that he has. So I need you to get here ASAP so you can search the shop. I am fuming that she has sold my 16-year-old son balloons. You need to get here quick before I kill her.
Yeah, officer.
I am fuming.
Can I just take your name, please?
Pardon?
Stay on the line, please.
Thank you.
You need me to adjourn for 10 minutes, give everybody a comfort break? Yeah. Right, we'll just adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes. Hopefully we'll reconvene at 25 past. Give the officers a bit of breathing space, I think. Okay, thank you. Right, sorted. We'll reconvene. Just refresh us which one we're going to show, and then we'll just make sure we've got the right one.
If we could play LC02, it's the first recording of body-worn footage, and it's officers arriving and speaking to the cashier. There will be audio in a second. There's a bit of pre-record where it's silent.
Yeah, to my 16-year-old son. Okay. So I'm not gonna lie, I've gone round there and I've missed her. Okay. Because I'm sorry, I'm not accepting someone selling my son drugs. Okay. So I will hold my hands up to that. Okay. Right.
Well, she said get the canisters out. I have to phone my boss first.
Yeah.
But he's on his way down.
Your boss is on the way down.
No. It's her boss.
Her boss is on
Yeah,
the way down.
because she. Yeah.
If you don't get down here now, I'm just not sure.
So
That's not going to happen now.
well, no, it's not. Please, will you sort her? Thank you very much.
Outside. Hiya.
I'll get a dress for you later.
Have you got any injuries to your face?
No, I'm not bothered about that, to be honest.
Okay.
The guy who came in, he looked holding up, I'm just doing my job.
Okay, what is he selling?
The smart whip.
Oh, what's that?
The smart whip.
What's the Scientology? I don't know what that
The
is.
balloon thing.
Okay. And are they normally sold in this shop, are they?
We've got what we've got in the bag.
Okay. Don't worry. So,
I feel like a piece of shit because I don't like selling them. I don't like selling them. It's my job.
why don't you like selling them?
Obvious reasons. You see it all over Facebook, people dying after having 10 pounds.
Okay. Alright, so is he coming today? Has he asked for one?
His mate's come in, he's recognised me, he's delivered takeaways to my house.
Right.
So obviously he's old enough to drive to me, doesn't he? I didn't think about ID, so he's old enough, he's got a job, he drives. I was like, right, okay, yeah, blah, blah, sold it in. And then they come bursting through the door, she's holding the mask off my face, she's looking at me, she's come round.
Right, how long in between you selling it and I coming round?
I
Brother?
don't know. Not like this in that long.
So,
But my boss is on the way.
fine, don't worry. Are you okay?
I like one.
Don't worry, we'll get you home soon. What time are you normally on till today?
I was supposed to be here for 3 hours. I don't usually do Mondays.
Okay. Right, I'm just going to step outside. Are you okay to stay here for a minute? Alright.
Before we go to the next clip, obviously I am aware that it comes across as quiet. Members have had opportunity to view these videos outside of this room, so it is a little bit easier to understand when you've had it on the iPad and it's direct. So just bear that in mind, obviously, with the sound quality. Next clip, please.
Chair, would it be beneficial to just read out what is said on that clip?
I think it will, yeah.
Yeah.
There is one phrase that I must admit, there is one phrase that is quite quiet when the member of staff is asked what's been sold. Okay. Once you understand the phrase, it is understandable. It is
Okay.
okay. So
Not
I think it is helpful.
So PC Newton speaks to the cashier, and the cashier makes a comment along the lines of, the guy who came in looked old enough, I'm just doing my job. PC Newton's asked what the cashier had sold, and she replies Smart Whip. PC Newton asked the cashier to clarify what that was, and the cashier replied, and this is the bit that's quite muffled, and she makes a reference to a comment along the lines of balloon thing. She's asked then whether it's something that is regularly sold at the shop, and the cashier pauses and then replies, we've got what we've got in the back. And then she says, I feel like a piece of shit as I don't like selling them. PC Newton asks why she feels that way, And she replies, for obvious reasons, you see them all the time on Facebook, people dying off it. And then the cashier stated his mate, in reference to the complainant's son outside, has come in, he's recognised me as he delivers food to my house. As he drives, he's old enough, sold at him. And that's the end of the clip. If we can move on to LC03, that's the second body worn camera footage.
So, what was it you said you'd sold? And you sold it to his friend?
I didn't even see him, he didn't come in the shop.
Okay.
There was a red car parked across the road.
Okay.
The guy come in, he was like, oh, do you order from such store? Oh yeah, I recognise you. I had a little banter. Sold it and he left, that was it. I'm pretty sure he came in and asked how much it was.
He did?
Yeah. I'm not sure if he bought anything. I don't know if he just come in to ask or he just maybe got a drink. I think. Yeah, he got water, I think. Can't remember.
There we go. It's working again now. Chair, would you like me to transcribe that out as well? It is a bit clearer to understand because the music's not in the background. The cashier is re-asked by PC Newton to just clarify what had actually happened. She replies that she'd sold Smart Whip and that she didn't even see him in reference to the complainant's son who's outside. She says that there was a red car parked opposite. The guy came in, we had a little banter, sold it, that was it. Followed by, I'm pretty sure, in reference to the complainant's son outside, he came in, asked how much it was, not sure if he bought an e-cig or maybe got a drink, and then said that he got a bottle of water.
Next clip.
If we could play the final clip, it's LCO4, it's the remaining body cam footage, and it is the items being located in the stock room with the assistance of the cashier.
Cool. Ugh. Cool. And is it just them?
Yeah,
Oh. So. One. So I'm just counting how many, mainly just so that should the owner ask. 6. Yeah. Cool. Can you just take that one? Cheers. Oh. Is there a phone there?
Chair, that is the end of the media that I've got to show you tonight. In terms of nitrous oxide, you may or may not be familiar. They come in a variety of shapes, sizes and whatnot. The one that most people will be common with knowledge of are small metallic canisters. They're about that big, and they are often complained about to the police, to the council for littering, fly tipping, often involved in antisocial behaviour with young people, all sorts of bits and pieces. But on this occasion, there were 7 large catering standard canisters that were seized.
Thank you. Questions from members? PC Connolly. I don't know where to start. Was there any reason given why the CCTV footage was available for the assault, but it wasn't available for the purchase?
There was no reason given, Chair. However, it must be said that I only discovered that there was CCTV of the assault about 2 weeks ago.
And when, bear with me, I've got the PC badges. When PC 2388 Stewart and PC 673 Newton and PC 4938 Cuts, when they went into the premises, obviously they've identified those cylinders. Was there any visible control measures in place for selling such items? Any publicity, any specific advice as to stipulations of purchase, anything like that?
They did not make me aware of any, Chair. However, when I visited with Trading Standards on the 15th, didn't see any public advertisements for nitrous oxide sales. There was a cream canister upon one of the shelves behind the tills, which you would normally insert the cartridges into to create whipped cream. The licence holder gave me a copy of the policy that they had that was written for the sale of nitrous oxide, which I think is included in his representations.
Right. Again, I'm going to reserve the right for members, if so needed, to come back and ask questions. But until we... Yeah, just bear with me, go on one sec. Until we've heard everything, there may be responses along the way that may need to be discussed further. So I'm just going to reserve that right. Councillor France.
Thank you, Chair. And you may not be able to answer this, but the size of the canisters, would they be the normal catering size for if you were doing sort of slush and things like that that could be used on the premises? Would you? I appreciate that's a funny question.
That would be a difficult one for me to answer, unfortunately, Councillor. The one that I'm most familiar with is the smaller individual canisters.
Yes, that's the one I've come across, in, as you say, being dumped and things, yeah.
Right. Have you got any questions? I'm looking at you. Yes. Yes. Sadly, you're on my list first.
Ah, right, okay. I don't have any direct questions, but I do have a few things I'd like to say.
Oh, well, you'll get the opportunity.
Okay.
It's just questions to the police
Yeah.
officer.
No.
Okay. Can I ask if there's any questions that you wish to ask? Either Miss Forrest or...
In terms of the licence itself, do you agree that there aren't many conditions on it? Sorry.
I do. It is a very basic licence with nothing but the mandatory conditions.
So you've mentioned about the training or you say lack of. I disagree, but you say lack of. You've mentioned things about the CCTV. Would you agree that these aren't conditioned on the licence either? So he's not breaching a condition in that respect?
He was not breaching a licence condition. They were not on the licence.
Thank you. Are you in agreement that conditions would be sufficient to uphold the licensing objectives as discussed?
Conditions, if abided by, then yes, they would uphold the licensing objective, but that is obviously conditional to the premises moving forward and abiding by them.
And sorry, another one. Am I meant to turn this off in between? Sorry.
You keep going. As long as you see a red light, you're fine.
I forgot what I was going to ask now. Have you visited the premises since you put in the review application?
I have not visited, no.
That's it, thank you for now.
Thank you. Alex, I get the feeling you're going to ask a question.
With your permission, Chair, though it's not allowed for in the procedure, please may I ask two questions of the police officer. PC Connolly, I note from your application you say, I have an honest held belief that on the 5th of September 2022, the cashier sold the nitrous oxide canister knowing that it was intended for human consumption. Strictly speaking, as you know, the offence is actually, if it's sold knowingly or recklessly, that it will be used to produce psychoactive effects. So you use the phrase human consumption. Obviously, strictly speaking, if it was to put in cream, that would be lawful. So when you said that, you believed it was intended for human consumption. Did you mean by that a non-lawful consumption, in other words, for psychoactive effects, not for cream?
Yes, not the Licensing Act, the Psychoactive Substance Act 2016, it has an offence of possession intent to supply a psychoactive substance with the intent for human consumption. That is the investigation that has been submitted along with the assault and threat to commit real damage after that incident.
And that belief that you held, do you still hold it?
I do, Chair. The cashier clearly says that smart whip, what she described to the officer, she describes it as a balloon thing. Balloons are not used in the preparation of whipped cream or ice cream. They are used to inhale nitrous oxide.
Thank you, Chair. No more questions.
Right. No responsible authority today. Nathan?
No, usually I get an opportunity to ask a question, and I haven't got any questions other than to make the point that PC Connolly made, to point out that there is a copy of the policy in the supplementary agenda. It's in the supplementary agenda 2 on agenda page 23. So if members want to familiarise themselves with it, that was the policy that's been provided. Just to make that point.
It's a shame that it doesn't state the language that the Health and Safety Act 1974, where it says ingestion and inhalation. So that would have clarified that, I think. Right, moving on. Mr. Bamber, this is your opportunity to make a representation.
Yeah, I wanted to speak on behalf of the shop because I was more than surprised. I was shocked to hear these difficulties. And the statement I submitted was quite heavily redacted, and I wanted to expand on that a little bit. I first started visiting that shop at the beginning of the COVID lockdowns because they were taking COVID very seriously. They were being very professional, very responsible. 2 people in the shop, 2 people out. It was, in my mind, much safer than supermarkets. And they were taking their responsibilities, not just with COVID, but as a business, very seriously. The staff were always professional, courteous, but also helpful. Especially during the lockdowns when not many people saw each other. You know, it was a highlight of the day to head to the local shop. Just to bring a wider context, I work with schools, providing IT support for many schools. And as part of that, I have to undergo enhanced DBS checks and safeguarding training. Also, I have a strong awareness of the prevent duty for anti-radicalisation, and also liaise on behalf of the schools with Lancashire Constabulary for Operation Encompass, which is a collaboration between schools and Lancashire Constabulary for the welfare of the pupils that may have been subjected to witnessing events. So from my point of view, safeguarding and responsibility is very important in a daily, every day of the week from work and also home. But what I wanted to reiterate was that I was surprised that the nitrous oxide was even mentioned. I've never even seen it in the shop. It's never advertised in the shop. And as I listed in my statement, I've never seen them sell prohibited or restricted items to people underage. They'll often question and they'll often politely refuse, but I've never seen anything of the like, which has been mentioned tonight. On another note, regarding the CCTV, many schools have CCTV as well, and many schools don't know how to use the CCTV and how to take a copy of the video before it's overwritten on a weekly or 2 weekly or 6 weekly basis. And it's quite a common request for me from the school to extract the video in a format where it can be used, such as now. So I wasn't surprised in the least that there's no CCTV footage, that it's been overwritten. It's a very common problem with systems like that when people aren't trained how to use them.
Thank you. I'll go to members in a second. I just want to pick up on something you've said. You've never seen the likes of that in the shop. Obviously, you've seen the footage that we've all seen tonight. Yeah. I'd just like you to make a comment, really, on the fact that we have witnessed nitrous oxide canisters stored on the premises. I won't speculate on at this stage on whether they were displayed or not displayed or things like that. However, you've seen the same footage as everybody else. You've said that you've not witnessed anything since you've been going there. So I just want to get your view on the footage that you have seen tonight.
Well, surprised to see it, to see the canisters at all. And I was surprised at how large they are as well. I've never seen canisters, as your councillor said, he may have seen discarded canisters on the street, but they're always the tiny ones. I don't know how much nitrous oxide costs. I would imagine the larger canisters, though, would be way, way more expensive than the small canisters, which in a way would, if you wanted to sell nitrous oxide to the general public, surely the most accessible way of selling it would be in tiny canisters which are affordable on a day-to-day basis. It's like cigarettes. People can afford one packet, but people can't necessarily afford 600 packets all at once. Or, you know, it's the same principle. So I was surprised to see the evidence, but I can't imagine people buying large canisters for domestic use.
Okay. So you've seen that. You've also now heard that obviously a test purchase was failed as well. You refer to when you've been in the shop, you've not witnessed any underage person being served. So could you just clarify to the members how much time you spend in the shop, how often you go, how many days a week do you go, and just a rough, I'm not after minutes, seconds and hours, but
Yeah, no.
when you go to a shop, I know when I go to a local shop, it can take me up to 2 hours
Yeah.
because people will stop me and they'll want to talk about council business. So when you do go, what's roughly the amount of time you spend in the shop, how many days a week, and that'll give members a good idea of obviously how much information you take in while you're
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah. So, as far as frequency of visits, probably 4 to 5 times a week. Okay. Generally, it's usually in the evening time because there is another shop closer to our house, but that's closed during the evenings. So Tony's Off Licence is the next closest shop to go to in the evenings. Time spent in there, probably between 5 and 15 minutes on a visit. It depends how busy the shop is, and if it's quiet, usually I'll have a conversation with whoever's working there. A sort of continuation from COVID times, really, that, you know, it became a social thing then, and it is now. So, yeah, 4 to 5 times a week, 5 to 15 minutes at a time.
So I think we can agree that you get a snapshot of what goes on in the shop on a daily basis. Okay, thank you. Questions? No questions, thank you. Nathan?
No, Chair, thanks. Yeah.
No question. Miss Forrest, is it Miss Forrest, Mrs. Forrest, Andrea, which would you, Miss? I did check. Would you like any questions? Therefore, can I ask you to make representations to the committee, please?
Obviously, you're aware that there are various options open to you today in your determinations as to what should happen, and you've heard from the police and you've heard from a representative in support. The police brought the review just to open. They do not seek suspension or revocation. I've had discussions with the police only yesterday. They're not here to seek the licence be taken away. They're here having agreed conditions with myself and my client, which they think will uphold the licensing objectives, obviously if they're adhered to, which they will be. So the police are of the opinion that conditions are sufficient to uphold the licensing objectives. Just to say there've been no other, I might put these on then I can see, there've been no other adverse representations from any authority. Trading standards have been in the shop, yes, but they haven't put in a representation today and they're not here today. Or from members of the public, no adverse other than the review but by the police. The only representations received are in support of my client's premises and himself, and you've got these in your pack to consider. So we know what instigated the review: an alleged sale to a minor of a nitrous oxide canister, leading to an assault, quite a nasty assault, on a member of staff by the parent who thought that the member of staff had sold the can to her son. And the second thing is a seizure of vapes not regulated for the UK market. Again, I've just mentioned this was dealt with by Trading Standards, who haven't put in a representation, and I'll mention that again later. So, in terms of the non-compliant vapes, this is a bit of an area of contention where training is concerned. First of all, there isn't a condition on the licence regarding any training whatsoever. And really, I haven't seen a licence which is bare of conditions like this before. This was granted by this authority. So it's my client's fault that, you know, if he hasn't been undertaking regular training or things like that, that there isn't a condition on the licence. So he's not in breach of any of the conditions there. But in terms of the non-compliant vapes, when I say it's an area of contention for training, obviously, if you've done your training yourself some years ago, you've got your personal licence, whatever, training didn't involve things like vapes. You know, it was about alcohol and cigarettes and the like. It didn't involve training on vapes and what are good vapes, what are bad vapes, if you like. So the less recent training materials used for training staff are probably what the premises licence holder used himself. So in this instance, my client had been training his staff and there'd been documents submitted showing the staff training records. They may be modest, but he has been training. He'd not realised the need to train them on vapes necessarily. Made an honest mistake in purchasing the vapes. He didn't know that these vapes were non-compliant. Just to clarify, vapes are not illegal. However, some don't comply with UK regulations. It's not easy to spot at a glance, to be honest. I'm actually a vapor myself. I'm not proud of it, it's just that I've given up smoking. So I'm a vapor, and I have been doing this quite a few years now. And at a glance, I wouldn't necessarily be able to tell. And just to prove a point, this is a vape I bought in Manchester. I was rushing back to the train station after another hearing, and I just popped in the shop near the train station, and I thought, oh, I just need to get a vape. So I bought this vape. This is exactly the same vape that my client had in his shop, and exactly the same vapes that were in there when Trading Standards went in on a previous visit. They weren't picked up. Trading Standards didn't pick them up. I'll go into that later as well, but that was just to show you I kept hold of it for this reason. So, having had the visit from Trading Standards, he's not going to be selling them now. He knows what's compliant and what's non-compliant, and he'll only be purchasing them from cash and carry going forward. So Trading Standards did seize these cigarettes. They informed my client they'd be incinerated and agreed to send him some literature on compliance in this area. So they clearly thought he didn't really know. And they actually said to him on the day that they could see he wasn't aware of the fact. To date, he hasn't received the literature from Trading Standards. However, I've since provided him with it in the last couple of days. And since then, he's undertaken a course recommended by PC Connolly to ensure that he knows what he's looking for when purchasing these products. So PC Connolly, I think it was yesterday, sent me a link. I sent that link to my client around tea time, and by sometime last night, I was still at the office at 20 to 1 this morning, sometime last night, 3 of the staff had already undergone the training, and another one this morning was sent over to me. So all 4, including his wife. So have all undergone the training. They've been told, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to know, and they've done it within a day. So when you ask him to do something or advise him, he does act on it very quickly. And I think it's very important to note that Trading Standards haven't put in a representation, and I think that speaks for itself. I'll just leave that one with you. As you can see from the documents sent in advance of the hearing, the premises even passed a recent e-cig test by Lancashire County Council as recent as August this year. And when they passed that test purchase by Trading Standards, those e-cigs were in the shop at that time. So my client was oblivious. Trading Standards didn't pick up on it. If they can't pick up on it, how's my client expected to know? He will now. He's got the literature. I've mentioned that there are emails in support of the premises, and these are at agenda pages 29 to 27. At page 27, Mr. Schultz, who lives a few doors away, it's just an excerpt from his representation. He writes in support, he says, I and my wife have never witnessed him selling alcohol, cigarettes or e-cigs to what I would say are noticeable underage children or teens. Excuse me, I need a drink. He also takes offence to the officer's comments about saying he has an honest belief. Well, surely if an officer can have an honest belief and bring a review of a person's licence and his livelihood based on an honest belief, surely the fact that my client has an honest belief that he wasn't doing anything wrong is equally acceptable. He goes on to say, Mr. Schultz, I've known him for some time and I've seen him many times refuse people's requests for alcohol and cigarettes whom he believed were underage. And then there's another representation in support at page 28, which is actually, I was going to quote, but I don't need to because Mr. Bond was actually kindly attended. And he's told you what he thinks, and you have it in front of you. So I won't go into that again. But he has taken the time to write in to support my client, and also taken the time out of his evening to attend here. He feels that strongly. So it's apparent that the local community don't see this premises as a problem premises in their locality. In fact, otherwise, they know otherwise. They've taken the time to write in, express their feelings and support my client. In fact, the one person who alleged an underage sale to his son of the nitrous oxide canister has not taken the time to support the police in the review because their version of events is incorrect. The correct version of events on the day can be seen at page 25 of the agenda in a letter from the victim who was assaulted by her. I would ask you to digest this account of the events when making your determination, because you will note the condition that she was in on the day she got attacked. She was very nervous, very upset and shaking, terrified in fact. Please note that the premises has had no interventions apart from the one previous failed test purchase that the officer mentioned. And since my client's been working there, they've successfully passed many test purchases, even prior to him being the owner, when he worked there as a member of staff. And this is over a period of several years. In fact, my client has provided 4 successful test purchases, all while he was working at the premises, or whilst being the premises licence holder in the DPS. 2 of the test purchases were this year, 2022, the latest being in August. These have been provided again for members of the committee to have a look at. So the successful test purchases we've provided evidence of are, the first one was the 25th of July 2016, and this was Camelot. So this is obviously attempted purchase of a lottery ticket by an underage person. This was whilst my client was working. You will note that he took on the licence in 2018, but he worked there prior to that anyway. So this was in 2016, and you'll note from the letter itself that my client was the person who refused that sale. The second one, test purchase by the police, refusal to sell alcohol on the 4th of April 2017, whilst my client was working as a member of staff. The third test purchase by the police, these are all successful, which you haven't been notified of until we sent the documents in. The third one by the police regarding refusal to sell alcohol again, this was in February this year, whilst my client was the premises licence holder and the DPS. And the final one I mentioned earlier, which was on the 8th of August 2022, refusal to sell a disposable e-cig to an underage person. So there's 4 positive, successful test purchases there, all evidenced in your documents. So as you can see, it's not a premises that's troublesome or failing to uphold the licensing objectives. It's a premises that clearly refuses a sale where they've either got no proof of ID or they simply refuse to sell it. Not only alcohol, but e-cigs and lottery tickets. So this does form a pattern, and a pattern of good due diligence and training to spot the potential underage person. I'm surprised that the police did fail to mention or know about the successful test purchases they took part in. They've only mentioned the negatives. So further references support the refusals of sales, which I've already referred to, and in addition, I've mentioned the CCTV isn't currently conditioned on the licence at all, which is very, very strange. But this hasn't stopped my client, even though it's not a condition on his licence, it hasn't stopped him from providing CCTV to the police where they've needed it, where it's been nothing to do with the premises. So assisting the police where there's been incidents completely unrelated to the premises. Images were made available to the police in their duty, assisting in their duties. And even the police were permitted to go in and take what evidence they needed from the CCTV, particularly when there was a murder case in the area, because my client has cameras outside. PC Connolly wasn't even aware that my client had cameras outside until we discussed it yesterday. So about my client himself, you know he's had the licence since early 2018 and been a DPS, but having worked in the shop a number of years prior, there were no incidents. We've submitted a historic due diligence prior to him becoming the licence holder, just to show, whilst he was working there as well, that he did obey the rules then, even as a member of staff. And it did not come to the attention of the authorities. The records date back 6 years. He's an experienced operator. He's previously had shops in East London and Southwark. Had no intervention from the authorities either. And in total he's been here for 12 years. He's a family man. He only began to employ staff once his children started getting a bit older and they wanted to do all these activities outside of school. He does do his due diligence and he does train his staff, albeit he admits the training's a little modest. However, they've all completed the training recommended by the police officer yesterday. The refusals logs show that they do refuse sales. That's evidence of that. But the online training can be done regularly and will be compliant with the condition proposed by PC Collier. The CCTV has already been upgraded. Now, again, as it wasn't conditioned, they didn't have to retain it. They didn't have to retain the images for any period of time because it's not a condition on the licence for them to do that. But now, within days, they've upgraded the CCTV system. My client's called in a specialist to do that, and it is already retaining the images for 30 days. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if my client receives advice or assistance, he acts on it really, really quickly. He does listen. Sorry, I've lost where I'm at now. So I think it seems to have been mainly the focus on the nitrous oxide, which is clearly important. But the police review says, the police officer says it was a single incident. So this review has been brought about by a single incident. And this was on the 5th of September. And I've explained the circumstances around that incident. But this person, which you didn't see everything on the CCTV, she viciously attacked her. She punched her, and whilst doing so, she pulled a hoodie over her head so she couldn't defend herself. This member of staff was in a particular state when she was first asked questions by the police officers. So I do ask you to consider the letter that she's written in. It's important when she's had time to sit down and calm down and put this together. She already had anxiety issues prior to this. She'd lost her mother. And she was employed by my client really out of the goodness of his heart because she was very depressed and he wanted to integrate her back into the community. Not only did the lady who alleged her son had been sold the canister call the police, but Lucy had pressed the panic button because of the incident, because of the attack. I have spoken to PC, I'm hoping I'm getting this right, Connolly, sorry. And I don't believe any action's been taken against the woman who attacked the member of staff. In fact, I think the view was that if she was asked to speak to the member of staff, she would apologise for her actions. There has been no sorry forthcoming so far. You can understand, as PC Collier said, you can understand that a mother, if her son has been sold a product of that nature for that reason, that he honestly believes, and she honestly believed was sold to her son, you can understand a mother getting upset. But there's getting upset and there's getting violent. And if she was so sure about what happened, why isn't she here today? Why hasn't she put something in support of the police? That isn't the account. That isn't what happened. And more importantly, and relevant to the committee, no action taken by Trading Standards regarding the vapes, no action plan or any discussions with the premises licence holder or advice given, just straight to an application for a review. And at the bottom of the police review on page 20, it states, while there is only one reported incident, and we're in a review at the premises, and some low-level compliance issues, there aren't any compliance issues now, I believe that the issues raised around the sale of psychoactive substances for human consumption, namely a child, should be considered a serious negative impact on the licensing objectives for public safety, crime disorder and protection of children from harm. My client fully agrees with that. That's not why he purchased it. It's not why he purchased that product, and it's not why he was selling it. He was selling to catering persons or people who actually requested that he sold it in the shop, to be honest. People who bake, those kind of... You wouldn't be selling, well, in my opinion, you wouldn't be selling that size of a canister to a young person. You'll notice on the last footage, sorry, not footage, the body cam, yes, on the last piece of body cam where I think the shop assistant was talking to the police officer, and she did say something about a red car outside. It seems, you will see in her letter that she sent him, that explains that, the red car outside, the person comes in, purchases a product. It appears to have been a proxy sale. It appears to have been passed to the son afterwards. For whatever reason, I don't know. But that's how it appears. So, you know that the Licensing Act is remedial. It's not punitive. It's remedial. And you can only make a decision based on the 4 licensing objectives and upholding them. So I'd just like to mention the statutory guidance at 9.44, and it says determination of whether an action or step is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives requires an assessment of what action or step would be suitable to achieve that end. And it goes on to say at the end, it's imperative that the authority ensures that the factors which form the basis of its determination are limited to consideration of the promotion of the objectives and nothing outside those parameters. So if you believe, and the police believe, that the objectives are being upheld by way of conditions, then that's all that needs to be done here today. So in deciding which of these powers to invoke, it is expected that licensing authorities should, so far as possible, seek to establish the cause or causes of the concerns that the representations identify. The remedial action taken should generally be directed at these causes and should always be no more than an appropriate and proportionate response to address the causes of concern that instigated the review. So what instigated the review? It was the sale of the nitrous oxide. Well, it was the incident, the fight, the attack. And then it was about the sale of the nitrous oxide. They've gone. He's not selling them anymore. That's remedied. But he wasn't selling them for that purpose in any case. So at 11.10 of the guidance, it says, where authorised persons and responsible authorities have concerns about problems identified at premises, this is important. It's good practice for them to give licence holders early warning of their concerns and the need for improvement, and where possible, they should advise the licence or certificate holder of the steps they need to take to address those concerns. Step 1, don't sell them, remove them. Have a better policy in place. You know, this is what the Licensing Act is all about. If there is intervention, deal with it at a low level. Try and put an action plan together. I deal with these all over the country, and quite often an action plan, we sit down with the police and put an action plan together. What do we need to do to put things right? Put some conditions on the licence, we need to do this, we need to do that. That's the first step, not straight to a review. So cooperation at a local level, this is at 11.10, cooperation at a local level in promoting the licensing objectives should be encouraged, and reviews should not be used to undermine this cooperation. This could have been dealt with, in my opinion, by way of a voluntary agreement with advice from the police or by way of a minor variation. However, I'm nearly done. Again, the guidance at 9.3, the authority's determination should be evidence-based, not based on an honest belief, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and proportionate to what it is intended to achieve. I ask you to consider what has been agreed and determine on that basis and do nothing more than that. Nothing more than add the conditions to the licence, which have already been agreed. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to questions, just want to clarify that I appreciate that you've had some negotiations with the police, but it's for this committee to decide what conditions or what action is going to be taken. I seem to be repeating myself from the last meeting, but just for clarity, it will be the committee that reaches a decision. Secondly, hopefully I'll speak on behalf of the committee. This committee does not condone violence in this situation. We certainly don't condone those actions on premises. I think you were quite right. You know, as a parent, they are well within their rights to have serious concerns when that has happened, and they've discovered that, which, I think from the sounds of it, they have discovered it. So I appreciate that there's two arguments to how it's become in his possession, but again, I reiterate, it is no excuse for violence. Right, members, questions? I have a load if you want. Right, I'm going to hopefully get quick answers to the first parts. Staff, how many staff do you employ? 2 staff.
Me and my missus.
And what's the turnover of staff? Are they long-serving staff members? Do you go through staff quite?
No, since COVID time, I've kept those 2 staff, like.
Right. So, the 2 incidents that have happened, am I right in saying?
It's the one staff that suffers anxiety, Lucy Collier.
So the sale of alcohol on the test purchase and the sale of nitrous oxide, that was the same staff member?
Yeah.
Right. I'm hoping you'll clarify this because I don't quite understand it. So I think you agree that the shop was selling nitrous oxide canisters?
Yes, we were, yeah.
What I don't understand is how do you sell a product that nobody knows that you sell? Can you just explain how you advertised?
So I don't advertise it. Basically, people requested me to, if you got these, it'd be great for our business. So because they do the baking and whipping and stuff, and that's the only reason why I got it.
Right.
I knew that the smaller ones, I didn't want them in the area because I've seen them in the streets and stuff. So
Yep.
I told them listen, if I get them in, I'm not gonna get those ones like them because I know they cause a very big problem. So this is why I only got the big ones.
Right. So you sell something that is potentially deadly. What control measures have you got in place to ensure that the person purchasing that is not just overage, you know, it's not just proving their ID, but what control measures are in place to guarantee, in your mind, that that's going for food production?
So they usually text me or ring me that I'm coming down to pick one up, Baz, or so I know that it's from like a takeaway shop or but there's only 2 requests that they requested me in, so I only had them for 2 weeks, basically 2-3 weeks.
Right.
Because people requested it, so I just got it in. Didn't sell many at all. when obviously you guys took it away, and then I knew like this is what it can. If someone gives it to someone else, the proxy cell, do you know what I mean? It's very deadly. So this is why I thought, you know what, I don't want to have them anymore in the store.
So you're aware of
So I knew
the
what they
risks.
can do if they use
So if,
them.
so if a person inhales it, you are aware of the risks?
Yes.
Were you aware of the risks at the time, or are you aware of them now?
So only when I purchased it, do you know what I mean? I didn't know that, because I only thought the smaller ones were the problem ones. I didn't know the big ones, you can use them as well. It's only when I obviously looked into it that, oh, you can use them as that as well. So obviously, this is why I hid them at the back. Like I didn't want anyone to know about them. Only the people I know, literally, who works in the takeaway shops or are part of catering or the baking at home. Only people like that, because she said that I recognize the person that came, and that's why she sold it.
So
Lucy Collier, yeah, sorry.
So, if this 16-year-old has waited outside to find somebody, a proxy, how does this 16-year-old know that you sell canisters?
No, so I think this is what's happened. The person that works, he works in Burger Bites, and that's how my staff noticed that, because she does deliveries in the house. So he must have known, obviously, that yeah, we do them. Do you know what I mean? So because Lucy knew the person, he drove his car, like she said. So she obviously gave it to him because they recognize he's from the food industry. Do you know what I mean? So
just for clarity, so my assumption is there's a 16-year-old outside the shop. Are you saying that 16-year-old had come with the person that purchased it, or are you saying that
no,
it was
so
just pure coincidence?
It was pure. So I don't know if that guy sold it to him or, but he went outside the shop or he went inside the shop. I made sure that my staff, make sure they do, and I can tell if they purchase, the balloons with it.
Yeah.
Then I know that okay, then it's setting up. Do you know what I mean? And like when you guys raided, like you didn't see, there's only like 5 or 6 balloons, like party balloons, but I didn't have a load of balloons. Like, you know how a lot of people do have a load of balloons when they're selling this product.
Right.
But then I would know that obviously if they're gonna buy this and they're gonna buy this, then definitely they're doing something wrong. So I will refuse the sale straight away. But like I said, I've only had it for 3 weeks and I've only sold 3 of them. So
It's gone now.
It's gone, yeah, and I will never get it back. I've been there for too long, and you know what I mean. I don't want to mess the community up and stuff. I'm not that person.
Okay. So this staff members, on 2 occasions, has done something that you as an owner.
Yeah.
I would assume that's not acceptable. So I appreciate she's been assaulted, but you as a business owner, what have you done to remedy that, discipline?
So obviously after the incident happened, I gave her like, as long as you want time off, do you know what I mean? Just sort yourself out. When you're ready, just let me know. And obviously because it's been happened twice now, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit more training with her, like to obviously find like what went wrong, or like why you're not saying no, and do you know what I mean? And I just spoke to you as well that if it worse comes to worse, I'll give a final warning.
So you think it's a clear training issue that she's not been?
No, it's not that. I think because she suffers anxiety. You see, I think her moods go up and down, and for me, it's like realistically, I should have thought about taking someone on like that, because I did it to help her out, get out there, let help the community, like, you know what I mean, like let her talk to people and stuff. But it was more of helping her because of what she's went through. So I thought I'd give her a hand. But yeah, training, I do train my staff. I've got a thick booklet like that. Do you know what I mean? And every 6 months, like I've sent all the staff training records and that from 2016 to 17. You know, so I do my best, like in training. I try to keep all the records. But obviously this product it was new to me, and like I said, I wouldn't never have it again, because it's just, like I said, if it goes in the wrong hand, it's a deadly product, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely no go for that. The e-cigs is one of them, like I said, it's very hard to tell. There's so many out there. It's unbelievable. Like when I got raided, I was gobsmacked that, wow, like all these are, like, do you know what I mean? They're not, I can't sell them, basically. So, like now, I'm only buying it from cash and carriers, like Best Ways and Bookers, that's it.
Right.
Sorry, Chair, can I just add to one of the answers? Just that my client did say to me on the telephone, you know, if it's going to lose me my licence, he said, and both incidents have occurred when this member of staff's been working, I might have to get rid of her. That's what he said to me. I think you forgot to mention that.
Sorry, yeah.
Right.
Do you want to-
So I just want to pull up a couple of, so obviously you've presented the committee with some refusal reports and a training log. Neve, could you just pull up the training logs? Sorry, not the training log first, the refusal report first. If you look, it's not clear in the papers that have been printed off to me, but it is in there. There's one date. I think it's the next page 15, Neve. So there's a list of dates on the left hand side. Now, when you look at the dates, I think it. Just bear with me. I will just try to read them off here. I think it says the 7th, 5th of the 7th. If we start 1, 2, 3, the next one under the last blue ink one, 5th of the 7th, 22, 12th of the 8th, 22, and then, bear with me, 15th of the 5th, 22. So if you're filling these out in order, how come you've gone back in time? How's that entry?
I think it's meant to be an 8, it's just the...
Is that supposed
Yeah,
to be an
I think
8,
it's just
not
that
a 5?
line's missing.
Right, well that'll
Yeah.
explain that.
Yeah.
Now if we go, I just want...
It's just the way it's written, I think.
Yeah, I mean, your pen looks like it's been running out for 6 months on that. However, if we just go to the training record as well, I appreciate you say that you've got a modest training record, and for my sins, I've taken over as a training manager, so I'm all for training at the moment. Give me 6 months, I might not be so keen. So, for this year, because that says 2020, for this year, where are we looking? Because I can't...
That's a refusal. The problem is the way they were scanned, they're double-sided.
Yes.
I got confused myself with them when they came
That's
through.
fine. So,
Yeah.
Nathan, are we happy that are you happy as the licensing authority that the training records are modest but okay? I'll ask the question to PC Connolly as well, but...
I mean, I can only say, I obviously haven't made a representation, so what I say is only, I suppose, opinion. There is certainly a document which says staff have been trained.
Right.
But
as to the detail of that, we don't know.
It's simply a date, who it was, the style of training, and a signature. It doesn't give any of the information about that.
And PC Connolly, you wouldn't veer away from...
No, I would echo very similar what Mr. Houseman would say.
Sorry, Chair, may I add that obviously there's the new training records that took place last night.
Yeah.
Just to...
I
which are
appreciate
better.
that. Yeah. Right. Any questions?
Yes, I am a bit confused.
Yeah, wrong side.
Technology.
When people take this nitrous oxide, what are the symptoms?
Councillor, there are various symptoms from dizziness, giddiness, all sorts of bits and pieces. The worst case scenario is suffocation leading to death.
Right. What are the symptoms, shall we say, if somebody takes cannabis or what all the other drugs? Are they all a similar type of reaction?
No, I think every controlled substance. Every psychoactive substance has its own effect on the person. Equally so, it could be that someone takes a particular substance and it have little effect on them, so they take more. It's all dependent on the person.
I think it's more commonly referred to as laughing gas.
Right, happy to. So I assume this little lad didn't come back inside the shop, but we all assume he'd taken nitrous oxide. We assume, this is what I get from the report, that he stood outside and his mother was saying, oh, you've sold him this, that. How did anybody witness what this lad's symptoms were?
That is absolutely spot on what you've just said, the councillor. No one has witnessed anything. It's assumed, but the premises hasn't provided the CCTV of that transaction. They provided the CCTV of the assault, not the transaction. So neither good or bad can be proved from this.
I will diverge from procedure. Was the canister recovered from the parents?
No canister has been recovered that was sold.
Right. Okay. Bear with me. Any questions?
No questions, Chair.
Yeah, I have a couple of just very sort of technical kind of questions, I suppose, Chair. And mainly because there was a lot of reference about the licence not having conditions on at the time and that it's unusual. In my experience, that's quite usual. So it's just a question around, at the time of Justice's licences being transferred into the new, there was no power to, would you agree there was no power to attach conditions to premises licences at the time? Yeah. And then I've just two more. Would you agree that in establishing a due diligence defence, it would be absolutely essential to demonstrate that some training of staff had happened in order to establish that defence?
Yeah, you would have to provide the documentation, and the due diligence to show. Yeah, I agree, yeah.
And the reason I mentioned that is there was a lot of stock made on the fact that there's no condition, so he hadn't really done anything wrong. But in terms of protecting your business and protecting yourself, would you agree that's best practice in?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just saying you hadn't breached a condition on the licence, which is what it's kind of
Yeah,
about.
of course.
Yeah.
And then just a point, there was 4 test purchases you referenced. As far as I know, we've only received documents for the final 2. So the lottery and the one in 2017. I don't think we've received.
4? Oh.
It may just be a transmission error.
Sorry.
But,
Let's just find.
tried searching my emails again. Couldn't see anything.
So there's Lancashire County Council on the 8th of August. On the other side, has it come through as has it come through as single-sided maybe?
I could have done. So I've got 8th of August,
well, I can let you
LCC,
have these.
and 5th of April 17. Those are the 2.
Sorry, there's 2 in 2. Would you like my copy? Sorry, the double-sided, the nerve scan and single-sided part.
As a technical thing, are you happy, PC Connolly, for that to be provided?
I'm happy for that to be provided.
If you want to see it first as well.
Thank you.
Nathan, just for information for the committee members, can you just explain what vicarious liabilities are for the...
No, Chair. I have no idea what that means.
Q Chair, but is it possible for me to ask some questions of the licence holder?
In a minute, Alex, yeah.
Okay.
Right, so vicarious liability, Nathan, is that in the eyes of the law, even if the staff member did something without the knowledge of the owner still has responsibility over that.
I assume that's a health and safety.
It might be, but what I want to find out from you is, as a DPS, even though we have an individual member of staff here, and again, I appreciate there's challenges with the member of staff, but where does the responsibility to make sure that we are have a challenge policy in place? Where is the responsibility that what should be going on is going on?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the responsibility is really clear in the Act. If you carry on licensable activities, you have a duty to promote the objectives. Now, the way in which you do that along the way, that's open to individual business owners. So, you know, if you do staff training, if you have, it's mandatory to have a challenge policy, but how you implement that and how you do that is up to the individuals carrying on the activity. But yeah, ultimately, it's for the premises licence holder, designated premises supervisor, to carry on those activities in a way that promotes the objectives.
We'll get back to where we were. Therefore, can I ask PC Connolly, would you like to sum up? Oh, sorry, Alex. Sorry, I do apologise.
Yeah, just two questions of the premises licence holder. We've heard from PC Connolly early on that on the night of the incident, no reason was given as to why there was no CCTV relating to the sale of the canister. Could you give the subcommittee that reason now?
I think so. I was not there. My dad was quite ill, so I was like on my way to London. So I told my missus that I think we had the old phone. I said that wherever recording you can get out of it, get it out. But they did take my number and said to me that we will be in contact with you. But I waited for I think 4 weeks and no one even rang me back.
Well, you didn't want to volunteer it?
No, so I think my missus did ring. Did you need anything from us, or is that right? Or
yeah, so is it working?
Whichever one is talking
no, so basically, when we never heard anything, the number that we had, obviously I rang them up, I left a message, and no one got back to me. And then after a month, obviously he received a message from
PC Connolly is coming down, yeah.
And then that's when they came down. So I did ring to chase up to find out. And the footage that we had is obviously because we were in shock how much obviously Lucy had panicked and obviously what had happened to her. So that's the footage that quickly just tried to take it that same evening that they did, and that was it. And then obviously our recording system only recorded for 5 days, and obviously we didn't record the other things.
Could you have taken action to retain the footage of the sale? Well, if it gets automatically wiped after 5 days, could you have intervened in some way to make sure it was kept?
No, you can't. After 5 days, it's gone. It's gone. This is why I'm putting out a bigger hard drive now. So if anything like that happens, it's there for 30 days.
All right. Just one more question as well. In the agenda papers, it said that you said you bought the canisters on Amazon, but then you denied that you had an Amazon account. So there seemed to be a discrepancy there.
So the person that bought it from, so I go cash and carry quite a few often times. We don't really know the name. We just start chatting, how's business and how's stuff and that. So basically, we're chatting and they were talking. There's people were talking, and I must have just heard what they were saying about, you should try these. These are good sellers at the shop. And so I thought, you know what, I've been requested a few of them. Never thought of them. I said, are they good sellers? He goes, yeah, they are good sellers. I sell them at my shop. And I never did anything about it after. I just carried on doing my shopping, putting stuff in my van. And he obviously came and goes, yeah, you should really try them. They're really good sellers. So I said, okay, cool. Where'd you get them from? Because you can get them from anywhere, like Amazon and loads of places sell them like that. He goes, you know what? Obviously he had some in his van. So I said, do you want to try a few? I said, well, have you got some like that? He goes, yeah. obviously because I sell quite a lot of them in my store, so he had some. So obviously I didn't purchase it then and there, but I was said to him that I will think about it and see, and I think he came to my store with them, and so I didn't buy him. I swapped some other goods with him, just so I can test them out basically.
Yeah, but it doesn't really answer my question about Amazon, about you bought them on Amazon but don't have an Amazon account.
No, I didn't buy it from Amazon. The guy, he was talking about Amazon. I got muddled up with my words, basically.
Can I let his wife answer this question, if that's okay?
So basically, the guy that he was chatting to, he's obviously bought it from Amazon, and obviously my husband, he just uses my Amazon account, so obviously he doesn't really have one anyway. So he's obviously spoken to the guy at the cash and carry, and they said like, yeah, these tend to go. And then obviously we weren't 100% sure, because obviously we know the small ones were dangerous. So then obviously we tried to do some research, and there was nothing there to like show us that they weren't illegal. And because we had some requests from the shop, so we thought, okay, let's get a few in. And but we only gave it to the people that we knew, and there was only a few that generally asked for it. And obviously we didn't want to purchase it, so obviously he needed some Moet or something, and there was none in the cash and carry, and we've had shitloads, so we just swapped it. We just done a swap.
I think what are you saying that the ultimate source was Amazon? It's just that the premises license holder didn't buy them from Amazon.
No, I didn't buy him. I think he's the guy who had him bought him. Like, that's what he said.
You said you had loads. I won't repeat what you said, but you had.
So we had loads of Moet.
Moet.
Sorry, what was that?
Moet champagne.
Champagne.
Oh, right.
So obviously we used to have a customer that used to buy a lot of that, and obviously that customer's moved, and we've obviously ended up with a lot of bottles. We thought, you know what, instead of paying him money, let's just swap it, because he wanted the champagne.
Yeah, because he was looking for Moet
we didn't
that day.
mind trying
Yeah.
what he was giving.
Right, so how big was the trade, the barter?
It was the same amount roughly, because we sold him we gave him a case of
Like
Moet
220 or something like that,
rosé,
roughly.
and obviously like, it was rough.
£220 or
Yeah,
something like that.
So you got £220 worth of nitrous oxide canisters. That sounds quite a lot then, doesn't it?
So 6 bottles we kind of gave him.
Yeah, but how much nitrous oxide did you get back?
6 bottles.
Just 6 canisters?
No, sorry. So altogether,
No,
they're
12.
up to 12.
12 bottles.
12 for £220?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So you could tell, like, obviously, it's not a cheap thing. It's just for catering purposes, like, you know what I mean?
Alex? Yes, thank you, Chair.
Right. Nathan. Would you like to sum up?
No, thank you, Chair. No.
Mr. Bamber. I nearly forgot your name, but I didn't.
No, nothing more, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I missed PC Connolly out. I do apologise. Anything to say?
Just a brief summary from myself, Chair. So obviously we've talked about how we cannot prove one account over the other, just for the lack of CCTV. We can only go off the accounts that have been provided to us or to my colleagues on the evening and the representations from the cashier. I think Ms Forrest touches on the 182 guidance around applying for a review of a premises licence, and that perhaps the best practice is a staggered approach. A bit of rationale as to why I've applied for this review. Ultimately, that worst case scenario, a child could have died had they ingested nitrous oxide that evening. That would have been a completely different scenario altogether. There would have been considerable more investigation work by the police done, all sorts of bits and pieces, and it may have been more consequence. But fortunately, on this occasion, no one has come to harm on this. But it is a serious matter that I felt needed to go in front of the subcommittee to discuss.
And would you like to sum up?
Yeah, I'd just like to say really that it hasn't been proven one way or the other whether this canister, well, my clients have said the reason why he sells them, there's no evidence that it was sold to a child on that night, only the mother assuming it was. There's no evidence of that at all. So you need to obviously keep everything evidence-based. And the concerns that have brought about the review, it was that incident. We have focused a lot on the nitrous oxide, but we also need to focus on the positives, and there are a lot of positives here. The nitrous oxide is not being sold at the premises anymore, neither are the vapes. I still think an action plan and early intervention could have worked, but I understand why the office has put it before the committee, having listened to him tonight. I get that. But consider that there's been no previous interventions at the shop. My clients acted on all the advice that's been given very, very quickly. It's done the Check 25 training overnight, upgraded the CCTV really quickly. All done, all the things he's been asked to do is successful test purchases, which I've got copies for you here of the ones that you have missing. The conditions that the police agreed, we agreed with the police to put on the licence. Consider that trading standards haven't taken things any further and haven't supported the review. Consider the supporting representations and this gentleman beside me who's made the effort to come here tonight because he feels so strongly about this. And obviously consider the licensing act, the guidance and your own licensing policy. But your decision has to be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and proportionate as to what it's intended to achieve. I do not believe you need to take any further steps. The issues are remedied. I urge you to take no further action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go back to me. Now the hearing is finished, please can I ask for our officers, the applicant for review, the licence holder and responsible authorities to leave the meeting. The stream to YouTube will be turned off, and you're more than welcome to wait than via the phone, you're more than welcome. Yeah, that's fine, okay. Yeah, if you just pass them to Body. After careful consideration, members have resolved to add the conditions in the addendum report to the premises licence, as well as an additional condition prohibiting the sale or offering for sale of nitrous oxide canisters for the following reasons. Staff at the premises were confused about the sale of nitrous oxide canisters, which is a crime if the seller is reckless as to whether it will be used to produce psychoactive effects. This undermines the licensing objection of the prevention of crime and disorder, and if the potential end consumer is a young person, the protection of children from harm. The grounds for members' concerns are as follows. The assistant described the product as balloons to the police, which is how the substance is consumed for psychoactive effects. The seller referred to feeling bad about selling the canisters, which pointed to an awareness of a risk that the substance was possibly being used for psychoactive effects. However, it was a single incident, and the larger canisters being sold did not point towards deliberate supply to the public for psychoactive effects. Members attached significant weight to the police concerns, but also attached weight to the fact that the police view was that the imposition of the conditions in the addendum would promote the licensing objectives. The current licence was very thin, and conditions relating to CCTV were appropriate considering that the system in place in September 22 automatically wiped footage after 5 days. The premises had failed an underage alcohol test purchase in 2021, and the police gave evidence that the measures to minimise sale of alcohol to minors were wanting. However, trading standards had not submitted an application for review, so evidently did not have serious concerns about underage alcohol sales, and the premises provided evidence that it has successfully passed other test purchases. Recently, the premises licence holder and DPS and his wife had attended training courses preventing underage alcohol sales. Trading standards did not submit a representation concerning sale of non-compliant vapes. The damage from abuse of nitrous oxide was very high, resulting in many deaths nationally. Members viewed the consequences of the risks at the premises as serious and merited additional conditions, including a prohibition on sale and offering for sale, given the serious harm to users and to the rest of society. Members attached limited weight to Mr. Bamber's representations because he accepted he was only in the premises sporadically. The premises licence holder and any other person who made representations does have a right of appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days. That's the decision of the committee. Can I thank everybody for your attendance? And as it's the last meeting before Christmas, please help yourself to a roses.
Well, I'll pinch one off your mouth.